Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Vlogmas Day 25. I cannot believe that we are already here on Christmas. Merry Christmas, by the way, if you celebrate Christmas. Happy holidays to those of you who don't. It is so hard to believe that Christmas is already here, that Vlogmas is officially over after this video. I am actually pretty impressed and amazed that I was able to upload a video consecutively for 25 days. And for the most part, I wasn't late, I was very consistent and on time, and so I am very proud of myself. I hope you guys really enjoyed all of the Vlogmas videos. I had such a fun time making them. Again, I do apologize that some may have been shorter than others, but as you know, I work a full-time job, so it's kind of hard to record when 8 hours of my day, 5 days a week, is spent in an office. For this last Vlogmas, I wanted to do something, I guess you could say kind of special. I found this idea on Kaylin Nicholson's channel, and I'll link it down below. She did a video called 16 Things I Learned in 2016. And after watching her video, I realized that I actually learned a lot this year as well, and I wanted to go ahead and make my own list and share it with you guys. And I did learn more than 16 things in 2016. My list was actually 30, but I'm gonna stick with this original video idea and just talk about the 16 things that I learned this year. This year was not an easy one for me. I definitely had a lot of challenges, obstacles, hurdles, lots of trials and tribulations, not necessarily in my writing life, but in my personal life, in my relationship, in just a lot of other areas of my life besides my writing life. I would say my writing life went great this year. It was a wonderful year for writing. I launched my second book in the Alpha Drive series, The Order of Omega, and I finished writing the first book of my dark fantasy series. So those were two huge accomplishments. I had my first author events this year. I was able to go to LeviosaCon in Las Vegas. So there's a lot of stuff I did related to author life. And so that aspect of 2016 was wonderful, but there was a lot of stuff in the background that you guys didn't really see that was really hard for me, very challenging, and really pushed me, tested my limits. Yeah, but I'm here, I'm still standing. I'm in a positive mindset, a positive outlook, and I'm just looking forward to the future. I am ready to put this year behind me and move on to 2017 because I just have this feeling 2017 is going to be incredible. Anyways, let's get into this Vlogmas and talk about the 16 things I learned in 2016. I do have them written down right here, so if you see me look down, it's because I'm reading them off my list. Number 1, your mindset determines your life. This was probably one of the most important things I learned in 2016, and I think I kind of knew this all along in the previous years, but I really understood this year, is that if you sit in a negative mindset, if you're in a negative headspace, if you are just stuck, then you are going to stay stuck. And if you don't find a way to consciously pull yourself out of it, then you will remain stuck. Your mindset truly does determine the things that happen to you. I'm a very big believer in the kind of energy that you put out. So if you put out positive energy, high vibration energy, then that is what is going to be returned to you. That is what you are going to attract, and that's exactly what you want. So if you have a negative mindset, then you're going to be vibrating at a lower frequency. You are going to have a negative energy surrounding you, and you're going to attract negative things. So I really do believe that your mindset determines your life and everything that happens to you. Number 2 is that it's never as bad as it seems. I had some pretty life-shattering moments this year where I just wasn't sure I was going to get through it. I knew deep down I'm the type of person to just pick myself up and be like, okay, it's gonna be fine. It's not that big of a deal, I'm gonna move on. But I had a couple of instances where it was a pretty gigantic thing that had happened, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this one. But really, when it comes down to it, it's never as bad as it seems. Things can always be worse, and a lot of the time our situations, when you actually put them under a microscope, they are not as serious as other situations out there. So I think sometimes we have a way of blowing things out of proportion, and it's good to step back every once in a while and realize that it's never as bad as it seems, and the world is not going to end. The third thing I learned is that patience is rewarded, but getting there is the hardest part. I am someone who is very go, go, go. I have all my goals. I'm, in the fast lane, on the fast track to get to where I want to be. So patience is not a strong suit of mine. It's very difficult for me to be patient because I'm very much an instant gratification person, like you guys saw in a lot of these Vlogmas videos, especially with giving people presents and opening presents. I just love that feeling of instant gratification. I crave it and I want that. And so when you work on something for such a long time, and it takes a long time to start seeing the rewards and seeing things come out of it, it's really difficult. It's hard to stay patient. It's hard not to get frustrated. It's hard not to think, what am I doing wrong? Could I be doing more? But I've come to realize this year that patience is rewarded. You just have to be patient in getting the reward. And of course, that's the hardest part. The fourth thing I learned is to take the leap and say yes. I had a lot of opportunities come knocking on my door this year, and some of them seemed a little bit out of the box or maybe a little too far out of reach at the time. But I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just gonna take the leap and I'm gonna say yes. And I did for a lot of events. And I look back at this year, especially in my writing life and being an author, I look at all of the things that I've accomplished. I'm like, if I hadn't said yes to half of those things, they never would have happened. I wouldn't have gained those experiences and I wouldn't have learned everything that I did. So I'm so grateful that I took the leap and that I said yes, and that is another thing I'm gonna carry over into 2017. Number 5, your body is a temple. Take care of it. I don't really talk about this much with anybody, and I definitely haven't talked about it on my YouTube channel, but this past October, not in 2016, but in 2015, I had a little bit of a health scare, and it was a terrifying time for me. It was right before the alpha drive was going to be released. And I won't get too much into the details because I don't really like to go back and revisit that. I will just say that everything's fine now. I'm fine health-wise, everything is good. It was just a pretty gigantic scare that I had in October of 2015. And actually the alpha drive was supposed to be released in February of 2016. And I ended up releasing it early in November of 2015 because of that health scare that I kind of found out about in August. And then I had to go in for a procedure in October. And those few months really were a wake-up call for me. I had to go and have a procedure done. And I'm just one of those people where I think the worst is going to happen to me. And I'm like, well, if they put me under and they sedate me, I'm not gonna wake up and I'm gonna die. That's just how my brain works. I don't even know what it is. Maybe I have some sort of phobia. I don't know. But that was kind of the mindset, and I had to flip that around really fast because I told myself, if you think that, then that's probably what's going to happen. So have a positive mindset. But sure enough, the procedure went well, and I woke up and I was totally fine. But those few months beforehand, I realized how precious life is and how much you have to really take care of your body and your mind and your soul and nurture it. It just gave me a whole new perspective on life. And I worked my little butt off, even though I wasn't feeling well and I was sick for the most part. I still worked my butt off to get the alpha drive finished and published in November. And that was such a huge accomplishment because at the time, one of my dreams before I died was to hold a physical version of my book in my hands. And I was able to do that before I went in for that procedure. So yes, your body is a temple, take care of it. And subsequently, number 6, food is fuel. I have started to look at food as something that is going to fuel my body. Just like a car needs gas to run, your body needs certain types of food to run properly and efficiently. If you were to put something other than gas in your car, it's probably not going to run at all, or it's going to run very slowly, not as efficiently. So you kind of have to think of your body in the same kind of way. You have to make sure that you're getting all of the necessary food groups, vitamins, minerals, all the things that your body needs to function so that you can be the best version of yourself every single day of your life. Number 7, you can't just snap out of a bad mood. It's a conscious decision. This was another thing I struggled with this year, especially in the beginning of this year. I would just kind of get into these moods for a week where I would be just in a bad mood, maybe kind of depressed, lazy, didn't really want to do anything. And I kept waiting for myself to snap out of it. And you know, a week would go by and then I would make the conscious decision. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna feel like this anymore. I'm going to change how I feel right now and I'm gonna be positive. And that's how I snapped out of it. But it was a conscious decision. You can't just wait for yourself to suddenly get out of a bad mood. You have to make yourself get out of a bad mood. It's a conscious decision, and that's something that I really struggled with at the beginning of this year, but I feel like I've definitely improved upon that, and I'm going to continue to work on that into 2017. Number 8, and this is one of my favorite quotes, it's don't stumble over what's already behind you. I used to be one of those people who really liked to reflect on the past a lot, not necessarily where I was living in the past, but I definitely spent a lot of time in that space, and I ended up realizing that that was just really unhealthy. It wasn't going to get me anywhere, and I really needed to break that habit. If something bad has happened to you in the past, it has already passed. So there's no need to go back and revisit it unless you're trying to do a conscious self-reflection learning experience from it. But to just go back to that memory in the past and kind of live there for a little while is just such a dangerous thing to do, not only for your mental health, but also just for your emotional health and your well-being. You can't think about the things that have happened to you in the past and allow them to become rocks in front of you in your future that you're stumbling over. They are behind you for a reason. Leave those rocks behind you. Don't bring them with you and set them down so that you can stumble over them into the future. Number 9, true happiness comes from within. And I know this sounds really corny, but if you are not happy within and happy with yourself and you don't feel happy, going and buying things and seeking approval from other people, and it's not going to make you happy. None of that is going to make you happy. True happiness comes from within. When you can sit down with yourself alone and say, I am happy with who I am, what I'm doing, what I've done, I'm proud of myself, and I'm happy. That's where true happiness comes in. You're not going to get it from an external source. You may buy something that makes you happy, but that happiness is only going to last for maybe a day or two, possibly even a week. It really depends on what you purchase. But eventually that happiness will wear off and it will go away. So really, in order to be truly happy, it needs to come from within. Number 10, a person of value is greater than a person of success. I also love this because value is such a ambiguous term, but at the same time, we all know what it means. A person of value, a person who, I don't even know really how to describe it, but there's a difference between value and success. Can a person of value be successful? Absolutely. Can a successful person be of value? They can, but sometimes they're not. I think that's where the biggest difference comes into play. So I want to strive to be a person of value. I would like to have success, but value is more important to me than success. The 11th thing I learned this year is that risks are worth taking. When opportunity comes knocking, open up the door, see what's behind it, and just go for it. Risks are worth taking. Things might seem a little bit expensive or a little bit out of your wheelhouse at the time, but if it's something that's going to help you grow and it's going to move you forward, then it's worth taking the risk. In conjunction, number 12 is that big blunders are necessary because it's how we grow. Sometimes you might take a risk and you're going to have a huge blunder because of it. Or maybe you'll have a blunder in some other aspect of your life and you're going to think, why did this happen to me? Did this really have to happen to me? What was the purpose of this happening? And you have to realize that within every mistake and every blunder, there is a lesson to be learned. And if you can turn your mindset around and take the lesson that is supposed to be learned from that mistake, that is how you're going to grow. You're probably not going to repeat that mistake again, but it needed to happen in order for you to realize what that mistake was. The 13th thing I learned in 2016 is don't forget to stop and smell the roses. I'm on a fast track in the fast lane, moving so quickly at the speed of light, so many things I want to accomplish, so many goals that I want to achieve, that sometimes I forget to just stop and smell the roses. I forget to stop and reflect on everything that I've accomplished and where I am today compared to where I was a year ago, 3 years ago, even a couple of months ago. It's so important to stop and really reflect on everything that you've done and just breathe it all in, soak it all in. Make sure you revel in your accomplishments, because if you don't do it right now, then you're never going to do it and you'll probably forget about it. You'll never be able to celebrate all of the things that you've done. And that's why in one of my Vlogmases, I did talk about making celebration lists, because I think these are so important. I think if you can make a celebration list every week that you should, or every day that you should, celebrate everything that you do that gets you one step closer to where you want to be. Sorry about that. I had to switch cameras because the battery in my other one just died, so I know the setting might be a little bit different than it was before. Of course, this happens right when I'm at the end of my list. Typical, but that's okay. Number 14, do less of what drains you and more of what makes you come alive. I don't think a lot of us realize this, but every single day we have choices. We have choices to do the things that we want to do and the things that make us happy, the things that we are passionate about. We don't have to do the things that are draining or make us feel bad, quite frankly. You have a choice every single day to do things that make you feel alive, that make you feel empowered. These are all choices. A great example of this was just the past week when Jonathan and I had 3 holiday parties to go to in a row, and then we were invited to a 4th one. We actually ended up not going to 2 of them and only going to 2 of them. So there were a total of 4, we skipped 2 and went to 2. And this was just necessary for both of our health and well-being. It was just too much. It was draining going to these parties because you have to be really social and talk to people and you just kind of have to be on. And I think for Jonathan, that's really easy. And I can definitely turn that switch on when I need to, but having to do it for 4 nights and pretty much 4 consecutive nights would have been insane. It would have been so miserable for me. I would have been in a terrible mood. And I just didn't want to feel like that. I was like, you know what? These are draining activities. I don't want to go. Luckily, he did not want to go either. So we chose the 2 that were most important to us and the ones that we had received the invitations to first, and we went to those. So my point here is that you can say no to things if they are things that are not going to make you feel alive, if they are things that are going to drain you and just bog you down, you can say no. The 15th thing I learned in 2016 is to travel. I was fortunate enough to be able to travel a whole bunch this year. I was able to go to Arizona quite often to see my family. I was able to go to Las Vegas for LeviosaCon. Jonathan and I went on a vacation to London and Paris, and that was absolutely beautiful. When you travel, it's just a great way to kind of change your perspective, and you come back to your home and you just look at things in a different light. You have a new perspective. I don't really know how else to explain it. I'm sure if you've traveled, you kind of understand what I'm saying. If you haven't traveled, then this might be harder to understand. But it's just such a good way to break you out of a monotonous routine and go immerse yourself in different cultures and different settings and being around different people. It's just such a good way to get out of your comfort zone and to experience something new. And routines are good, but sometimes we need to shake up our lives a little bit, and travel is a perfect way to do that. And the final thing I learned in 2016 is your happiness is up to you and you alone. This one resonates with me so deeply, and I don't even really know where to start talking about this one. Again, this is something that I've always told myself, but I really think this year it sunk in that I am responsible for my own happiness. Happiness is not something that can be given to you. It's something that you have to find within yourself. It's something that you are responsible for. Like I said, people can say things that make you happy. You can go out and buy yourself something that makes you happy. You can go on a trip that makes you happy. You can get a really great workout in that makes you happy. And all of that is great. But if you aren't truly happy with yourself and who you are as a person and just your morals and your values, then those things that make you happy are going to wither away really quickly, because you're going to have this deep-rooted unhappiness with yourself. And I don't know if that really makes sense. Your happiness is up to you. You can't expect someone else to be able to give it to you. It just does not work like that. You can be in the best relationship of your life, but if you are not happy with yourself, that relationship is always going to be a little bit tainted because of your unhappiness with yourself. Your happiness is up to you. You have to define what that is, what it looks like, what that life looks like, and who you want to be as a person. I think once you figure that out and you start making steps toward it and strive toward that vision, that's when you can truly find your happiness and be happy. So that is it for Vlogmas Day 25. Those are the 16 things I learned in 2016. If you like the content today, please thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I would love to hear what you all learned in 2016, whether it's one thing or 16 things or 30 things. So please leave some comments down below, because I would just love to see what everyone has learned in 2016. I know a lot of people have been referring to this year as a dumpster fire, and I would have to say that I would agree with that statement for my own life. But there are always things that you can learn, and especially in a year like 2016. There is so much you can take away from it and learn from it. So just try to look for the positive, look for the new lessons and the new learnings that you can take away from it and incorporate into your life to make 2017 the best year yet. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, and for those of you that don't celebrate Christmas, happy holidays, as well as a very happy new year. I have one more video that is going to go up, which is on Tuesday the 27th, so I will see you guys again before we kick off 2017. In the meantime, enjoy this time with your family and loved ones and just have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye guys.